With Algorand just coming short of our very first price target, what could be on the horizon next for Algo? Guys, as we get into this technical analysis for Algorand, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done out of the way, let's dive into this technical analysis on Algorand. So we're going to start things off with the weekly chart, guys, and there's two Fibonacci retracement tools. We have the one over here on the left, and we have one over on the right hand side. So first of all, we're going to talk through what is going on with our left hand fib, and then go on to the right hand fib. Okay, so the one on the left hand side basically looks at the previous all-time high. This was back in 2019, and the basically all-time low, if you will, so the bear market low. Okay, and that was basically March of 2020. So basically taking that high and that low, it allows us to think about where things are going to go. It kind of predicts out these obvious kind of levels and mathematically where they are going to land. So we can see that the 4.236 extension comes in at $14.24, which might seem a bit crazy to many people, but actually it's only 508% in gains. And this is something pretty comfortable in this crypto space as things start to FOMO up towards the end. This is actually a pretty easy target to potentially acquire for Algorand, okay? Despite what many people do believe in the space, market capitalization isn't a barrier to price discovery. There are only two things that really matter in terms of pushing the price up. One is obviously getting a squeeze on the supply, so the circulating supply actually matters, and of course if you've got more delegated or staked away out of circulation, then that's going to be your squeeze, and obviously you want investors who are holding on tight, not willing to sell until you get to a certain point. New investors who then come in, the demand, if you will be the next key thing. Having a high demand or FOMO after a cryptocurrency with already a squeezed supply is a catalyst for huge price discovery. Okay, so there's only two things that matter. One is the supply and making sure that that is squeezed, and the second, of course, is demand, making sure that we have good FOMO, the fear of missing out on the cryptocurrency asset. So if Algorand is able to acquire those two things, the squeeze and the FOMO, things are going to really heat up nicely here for Algorand overall. So the second fib, on the other hand, the one on the right hand side, this takes a look at the third wave high and the fourth wave low. Okay, so basically many altcoins, including Bitcoin, I guess to a point, basically have 5 impulse waves: wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a fifth wave taking us to those higher points, right? The problem with Algorand is we actually have invalidated the impulse waves to the upside, right? So there are no 5-wave scenario here for Algo. Basically, wave 1, wave 2 were okay. Wave 3 was okay, but wave 4 invalidated the entire theory because wave 4 went lower than the previous wave 1 high, okay? So we know that that isn't what's going on here. There is no fifth wave in this scenario, okay? But when I do talk about impulse waves and the fact that pretty much we are following Bitcoin to a degree, we are basically assuming that there is a kind of psychological fifth wave here for Algorand, as it's going to follow suit with many of these other cryptocurrencies. With that being said, though, we could see this thing absolutely take off. It doesn't actually have to align to the rules of the fifth wave either, being that the third wave would normally be the largest wave, okay, or second largest. It would never be the smallest wave, okay? So it's important that we also acknowledge what the other rules are when it comes to Elliott theory and 5 impulse waves, and obviously that means to when you're not actually aligned to the 5 impulse wave theory for Algorand, okay? So knowing that we have no fifth wave scenario, it means we're also not limited as well. So that's a pretty good thing to kind of note there. Overall, this is actually showing us that the high and the low point are showing us basically $5.52, $5.62 as the theoretical high. This is just based on current performance, but obviously it doesn't really take into consideration anything that's new that's happening in the space, right? So it's somewhere between these two are pretty comfortable. You know, think about where your targets are, what your personal thoughts and opinions are. For me personally, I think a nice $10 range somewhere in between our 2.618 and 3.618 on this side seems like a pretty comfortable area for many people to be maybe focusing in on. And I do feel that $5.62 is a bit on the low side for Algorand. So I do think it's going to blast through all of these levels on this side. But going after $14.24 seems a little bit of a stretch. So maybe we want to just kind of focus in on somewhere in between those areas. areas there. It seems like a pretty sensible idea, unless we have more data kind of feeding in here telling us that, you know, things are actually going to be moving on or progressing a little bit faster than maybe expected. Overall, we are talking about 508% in order to get to that $14.24 area. Overall, the stochastic RSI is overbought. This is perfectly fine. This is something that we've seen previously with this other push to the upside. We were up here for quite a while, basically from December 2020 through to February of 2021. So a few months we were up here and overbought. So just entering this area isn't a worry. And again, we can see that we're up here for quite some time as well previously. So overall, not a concern and looking pretty good. And when we jump down into our daily, we just expand this up, we can see a good surge to the upside here. And again, this is just coming short of our first price target, that $2.58. I think we got as high as, if I just get this correct for us, $2.49 before we pulled back down, retesting the previous high, guys. So I know some people, you know, like Fibonacci's, some people hate them, but these price targets, they resonate so well with what you see in the space, right? So this was your previous high, and we've basically back tested on that previous high point there, and then pushed right back up again, finding this upper area of resistance. You can see these 3 wicks just here. There's a lot of resistance just in this area, and again, we want to be pushing through, and I think we are getting there. We just need to kind of correct things a little bit here. Sideways trading in this zone before moving up. Now, time's the hardest thing to gauge. We'll get into the hourly in a moment to see what's going on there overall. So right now, firmly up here, past the 786, the big bull signal. So this looks like a pretty good close position. So I do think next week is going to be a really good week for Algorand. I think it's going to move really well and continue to have these good, strong moves to the upside. Overall, we can see that we were overbought, but we just actually dipped down courtesy of this kind of correction in the middle here. So we can come back into this overbought area on the daily without any issues. We can start seeing a little bit of volatility in this area, but overall, nothing really to worry about. We can see nice, healthy corrections like this, bringing us down to the lower bound and then getting good surges to the upside, taking us to the overbought area. So overall, no problems really reporting in on our daily view here. So we can zoom out and we can just sort of take a look at that structure, and it's looking very, very good as we continue to move up some of these key areas now on the Fibonacci retracement tool, going after, but not quite there yet, the $2.56 area. Now, it's at this point that we also have to acknowledge that it's worth paying attention to the underlying value or the underlying data of a cryptocurrency. So for the case of Algorand, we're going to use the artificial intelligence and machine learning over at advice.io. Links in the description if you want to use the platform. It is free to sign up, so you might as well. And basically see if there's any potential problems with some of the underlying data and if we should be worried at any point. So we're going to just jump over to the advice dashboard here. This is Algorand. Overall, it has an A3 cryptocurrency rating. So again, not too bad. It's up there with some of the good ones, so not too bad at all. We can see the AMI-HAD ratio here is an A2 rating, so no problems with liquidity there. The issue really, or the only reason that we're an A3 rated cryptocurrency is that there is a moderate amount of fear and greed. So we're kind of like pretty neutral, right? There's not greedy, it's not fearful, it's just kind of in the middle. And I think now getting the closed candle, the weekly closed candle above that 786, moving above and setting a new all-time high is going to be a big catalyst now to actually say that there's going to be more greed than fear, and we should start to see this move up. And if we start to see this actually entering to maybe be an A2 rating, we should actually start to see the A2 rating overall for Algorand moving it up and indicating that there is very little wrong with the data underlining it. We can see that the Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating, well above the 50-day average. So risk to rewards, that ratio is actually indicating that it's actually pretty good to hold algo at the moment, so not too bad there. The return on investments, A1, the best it can be as well. Moving averages A2. So overall, there's no problems being indicated other than that fear and greed index, just saying that it's neutral, and actually we should start to see some more FOMO into this project. And I think we're going to slowly move up those ratings there to actually go into a greedy scenario. So watch out for that one. Let's actually jump down now into our hourly view. This is where we can take a look at what's been going on most recently, and with this kind of good surge to the upside. The green is our target price, right? We're just short of it, and we didn't quite get there. And what's interesting is we can really take a look at these key areas of where we've been kind of hovering around, and we can see that we're wicking into this area just here. Where are we actually closing though? We're not actually getting those closed candles anywhere higher than this point just here, which is basically $2.40. Okay, so there's a bit of a gap in that point, and I wouldn't be too surprised if there are some traders just kind of trading this zone. If we're wicking in, then potentially basically just placing their sell orders into this kind of zone here, and basically buying back at some other key areas. So I'll be mindful. I'm going to be looking at that particular point there. I'm just going to be mindful that actually we want to see a closed candle inside that yellow box, and that I think will actually help us push above that $2.56 price target. And again, we take a look at that stochastic. We do need to see a bit of a correction here. So the short term, we will be looking for a small pullback, nothing major. And I think as long as that sentiment's really positive and good, then I think we could potentially trade sideways. We'll look again for some key areas of support on the journey to the downside. I think $2.23 is a very interesting point there. I think that could be a good place to find a correction, as could $2.19. I'm going to just quickly draw that in actually, because that actually looks pretty tidy around here. So I think that could be something that we could see. We could basically see a nice pullback to this point and then a catalyst to go up and really take out those next levels. As I said, everything on the daily and the weekly is looking pretty good. The artificial intelligence at advice.io is not indicating any problems. So really, we just need a nice correction to kind of correct some of the technical data here, allow us to then continue the growth to the upside and see if we can pass this area here where we haven't had a closed candle. We're just wicking into this area. I would anticipate there's loads of sell orders for Algorand just up here. So I'll be watching that. Overall, everything's pretty good. I think patience is going to be key as we continue the growth to the upside. And if we're ever in doubt, we do zoom out. We pay attention to what is going on with our weekly chart, guys, because this is where we see the bigger picture of where things are heading. Some bullish moves have been made, and I think this is going to continue for the majority of the rest of the year. So we'll have to watch out for that. We'll be, nothing moves up in straight lines forever, so we will expect the occasional healthy pullback, but otherwise everything is looking very, very tidy and very, very good here for Algorand. Guys, hopefully you have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.